Hello everyone and welcome to the presentation of the game of the day for round 4 of the 2014 British Chess Championship. And what a round it was, full of exciting games. I could easily have featured the game between David Howe and Simon Williams, which actually is still in progress as I record this video. But I'm going to choose a game which has quality written all over it. It's the game between Grandmasters John Emms and Chris Ward. Two very good friends. And the commentary room was informed that whenever these two play together, they've got a pact that they play different openings to those that they normally play. They just play something different in order to get a good game. So Emms was white and he played the English 1c4. Very rare for John as he normally opens 1e4. And Chris responded with a standard Queen's Gambit formation against the Catalan. Just knight f6, bishop to e7. White played d4, black castled, and now queen to c2. A relatively modern refinement on the normal castles, after which black gets a pretty comfortable game after d takes c4, queen c2, a6, and now there's a lot of theory. There's much less theory on queen c2, and a bit surprisingly in this game, Ward ducked the challenge by playing c6. Normally, the Queen's Gambit in the Catalan, you're supposed to wait with Queen c2 as white until black has played c6. On the grounds that, when the Queen comes to c2, black might be able to open up the game with an immediate c5. And the point of this is that eventually, after black develops his queenside pieces, the rook comes to c8, and then the white queen is in the wrong place. So slightly surprising here to see Ward going back into a normal line here by playing c6. Well, not quite normal, as after castles, Ward struck out with b5. And so we've got a pretty unusual position already on the board. But it's my impression that this sort of structure doesn't score very well for black, because it's actually still quite difficult to get those queenside pieces going. Now white's got an important choice to make. Does he keep the tension here with b3? That's been played quite a few times in this position and is a perfectly respectable alternative to the move John Emms plays, c5. But I've always felt that this is the primary challenge to the black setup. Black's allowed to expand on the queen side, but in return, white can prepare the move e4 in the centre, more or less unhindered. And when that move comes, white's got pressure. In some of the main lines of the Catalan, when white prepares e4 and the pawn structure is elastic, black can often respond to that move with a move c5. Well, here, white has blocked that possibility off. So Emms continues after a5 with bishop g5. And Ward just plays standardly with knight bd7. We thought in the commentary room that black could try to exchange pieces here by playing knight e4. That is a possibility, but certainly after bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, and now perhaps a4, white is getting the upper hand. At least he's got a very pleasant position after b4, knight bd2, knight takes d2, and now queen takes d2. When black has to play f6. Okay, this is unclear, but you can't help but feel that after rook e1 and e4, white must have an advantage. So going back to the game, Ward decides to keep the pieces on, and Emms continues fluid development with knight bd2. Black goes h6. Well, the main reason they don't choose this sort of setup too often with black is that it's basically quite passive, and you have to sit and wait and try to slowly equalise. I mean, the way of sitting and waiting is just to play a move like rook e8 here. That was played in an old game from a German tournament back in 1995. White just centralised his pieces and black went into the huddle with knight f8. No way is black equal here. And after rook ad1, h6, takes, white got the standard move in e4. With again a very nice position. White's in charge here because black's counterplay on the queen side is almost non-existent, as we're going to see in the game. Going back to the game then, knight bd2, Ward played h6, white was happy to take on f6, bishop takes f6, and then the thematic e4. Black pushed on with b4, he's thinking about getting this bishop out to a6, white plays rook fe1, and now a4 by black. So it just looks basically as though black is doing something on the queen side, but when we consider the position a bit more carefully, there's nothing to be seen there, no counterplay. Emms played knight f1. Well, we were speculating what would white play in this position. Somebody suggested h4. That's an interesting possibility. And there was also the immediate capture on d5. And I think the probable reason that John Emms didn't do this was that after knight f1, intending knight e3, that's the white idea, with perspectives for the knight on either f5 or g3. I think black can then go rook e8. And the exchange of a pair of rooks makes his position slightly easier. Although white gets the e-file, something like this, knight f8. John Emms probably felt that exchanging rooks in this manner would make black's life a bit easier than actually happened in the game. So going back, he decided just to play knight f1. So bishop a6 by Chris Ward. I mean, that was to be expected. And now Emms played e takes d5. Another excellent move. I mean, he could also have considered knight e3, not allowing black the chance to take on f1. But e takes d5, bishop takes f1, bishop takes f1, c takes d5 worked out very well for white. I mean, black can capture back with the e-pawn in this position, but white is well on top. Due to his pressure, he can continue with queen f5, he can continue with bishop d3, he can even play queen d2. White is better in all cases. So Chris played c takes d5, and I think one of the points about that is that he intends to put his knight on c6, knight b8, and then knight c6. So whatever white does has got to be angled against that plan. So John played bishop b5, a move I like very much, putting the question to black's a-pawn, forcing a3, white blocks the queen side, and now, as you can see, it's much more difficult for black to get counterplay. This is the sort of reason they really don't like this line with black. It's very passive. White's got this monster pawn, and you don't have any pawn breaks as black. You've just got to sit and defend. So it's pretty unpleasant. Knight b8 was played. White went knight e5. Black played queen a5, and with the bishop dominating the knight, John Emms played queen d3, just steadying the ship. Black took on e5. He probably couldn't see any other way to get his pieces out, but after rook a e1, the pawn lever with f5 comes into focus. And this is the pawn advance that really is going to win the game for white. White's in total control. He waits until black moves his knight out. He takes it off, and then he comes in with f4. And this really is very instructive because it goes to show just how important pawn levers are in chess, opening up the position for your pieces. The problem for black, he doesn't have a corresponding pawn lever. He's always got to worry about the weakness of the pawn on b4 and f5, f4, f5. So with this advance imminent, Ward tries to ease his defence by exchanging the queens. Now white could easily have kept the queens on here with queen d2, reckoning that after f5 he gets a big attack. But Emms again plays excellently. He takes the queens off, he pushes f5 straight away, and this places black in great difficulty. This rook and pawn ending is nowhere near a draw. Black cannot play rook e8 because maybe that was what black was intending beforehand, but rook takes d5 just wins the pawn for nothing. And going back to the game, when Ward takes on f5, white takes on d5, and now he's got two passed pawns in the centre of the board. Rook e6 happened, king f2, rook fe8, rook takes e6, f takes e6. White takes the 7th rank. This is winning for several reasons. Better rook, strong passed pawn on c5, and a much more potentially mobile king. White's king can easily ease its way up to c4 and just gobble all the black queenside. So black is lost. I mean, what can he do? He puts up some resistance, but in the end, it is lost. Rook c6. White brought his king to e3. Rook b7 is also on the cards in this position. And black plays his last trump, the advance of the kingside pawns, to try and create some confusion. White goes rook b7. And now again, the very last chance for counterplay, e5. Rook e7. Well, this was move 34 at the end of a long session. Maybe better here, although Rook e7 is good, was to play the simple rook takes b4 check. And there's a little nuance in this rook and pawn ending position, as when black plays f4, we take, black recaptures, we go king e4, e takes d4, and now perhaps the move John Emms missed, rook c4. And this is the winner. As the black rook is now move bound, the white king can look after black's pawns. There's no counterplay left. But going back to the game, rook e7 is okay. Black played f4 check. White captured, black recaptured. White put the king in the middle. And now black played rook f6. Well, if he takes on d4, we take that. If he goes f3, we go rook e1. If he goes rook f1, we go, if he goes f2, we go rook f1, rook f6. And now the simplest win is king c4. There's no way back. Black can't ultimately stop white from queening the c-pawn or gobbling the queen side. So whichever way black plays it, it's lost. Chris tried rook f6. In comes king takes e5. This is a nice move based on the tactical idea. f3, king takes rook f2, and black is even allowed to queen after king g6, as the threat is rook e8 with a winning king and pawn ending. So the game finished fairly abruptly. Rook f8, king d5, f3, rook e1, and black resigned. There's no defence here. As you can see, white's going to trundle his pawns down the board. If black tries king f7, we go rook f1, and if king e7, the passion killer, king e4, again, mops up. So although there was some spectacular games in this round, some very exciting games, I liked that because it was a clear-cut performance by John Emms. It's never easy to defeat Chris Ward, and it's doubly difficult to play really hard against a mate of yours. But Emms ticked all the boxes, and he came out with an excellent win. This is proof that, you know, it's not that easy to equalise in the closed variations of the Catalan, and especially where black has no counterplay on the queen side.